All right, chat, I'm going to show you a sequence here, and I want you guys to describe to me the words that come to mind when you watch this sequence. So let's see what the chat thinks. Welcome to Street Fighter 5, baby. Let's fucking go. Oh my god. Let's go. So what words come to your mind when you see such a sequence, huh? Fundamentals, mix-up on a Street Fighter. You an MF freak? True. Why didn't nephew block? Also a good question. Outplayed? Brian F is a robber? Well, listen. Before you guys go up in arms, calling Street Fighter 5 pure robbery, pure nonsense, brain dead Balrog, just robbing rounds from hardworking Colleen mains, let me describe to you why this sequence is not only not brain dead, but possibly genius. Okay, maybe not genius, but what I wanted to do was to break down the interactions that are happening in this sequence, because I feel like Street Fighter 5, people just see an offensive burst, and then they see that one person's life bar drains extremely fast, and they don't really understand exactly what's been going on, and they just label it something and judge it. So I'm going to break down exactly what's going on with each interaction, and after that, then you can go ahead and come to your own judgments once you have all the facts in order. So I'm going to demystify what is going on with this robbery. So if you looked at that sequence, I did crouching medium kick to activate, and then I did V-trigger things. So let me give you a quick crash course in Balrog's V-trigger to kind of set the stage for what's going on. Balrog's V-trigger 1 paired with his V-skill 1 is pretty deadly because it has a lot of reset options. So Balrog's V-trigger 1, it lets him do these extensions from his rush punches. So regular dash straight can be extended with either a forward plus kick or a forward plus punch. The kicks knock into the air. The punches keep on the ground. So I'm going to refer to each one of these punches from here on out as a Rekka. So that's Rekka number 1, Rekka number 2, and then 1, 2, 3, and then 4. The final one knocks him away no matter what. Okay, that's fine and dandy, just gives him a big punch, right? However, paired with V-skill 1, things get interesting. You can cancel these Rekkas into a V-skill. Why is that interesting? Because V-skill can go into an overhead, or you can just empty V-skill and then use your low to start another combo. So this is the mix-up that is going on with V-trigger 1. He can start a sequence, and if the opponent is just pure Pringles on defense, it can be pretty devastating because he can get all these resets, and if he gets a raw hit, for some reason you're asleep at the wheel, he can do tons of damage. However, it can be defended against it. I'm going to explain the mind game real quick, and that's why Nikali is here on the screen. Nikali has a great 3-frame jab. Balrog's overhead has a gap, but it doesn't have that much of a gap. Did you see what happened here? We traded. That's very important. I want you to note that. Let me try going low there instead. There we go. Interrupted. And I can't throw either, right? I'm too negative. The 3-frame will beat that. So as you can clearly see, the mashing beats the empty low and the throw. Now let me try doing something else. This is the magic secret that people don't know. Now he's interrupting the overhead. The overhead hits on frame 3 on the first Rekka, frame 4 on the second Rekka, and frame 5 on the third Rekka. If I want to beat 3-frame jab, the only way for me to get a reset is to immediately go on the first Rekka to the overhead. Either he doesn't block it, or he mashes and it trades, or he blocks it and I get punished. Those are the only options that can happen there. The other thing to keep in mind is EX straight. EX straight has similar properties where you can cancel the V skill. However, the interesting thing about EX straight is that it will always counter hit mash 3-frame on the high and the low. So that's what makes EX straight much more powerful than the regular dash straight. With dash straight with V-trigger, like I explained, I can't go for the low option here and beat your button if they time it appropriately. See, the low option just cannot win. So EX straight offers a situation where you're forcing the opponent to block, but the V-trigger Rekkas kind of have a mind game there of, am I gonna go for the overhead or not? So I'm getting smoked, obviously in the corner. Once I'm here, I'm just looking for an activation. Now, I do crouching medium kick. A lot of Balrogs will do 2 crouching medium kick, but that's not good because if you do 2 crouching medium kick here and then activate, you're gonna be negative. If he blocked this and I press V trigger, I'm still gonna be plus and I'll be able to move first. He happens to get hit, he's up close. I know I can do crouching fierce punch. Here at this moment, what I'm looking at in this moment down here, the first thing I'm doing is I'm glancing at my meter, and then I notice I have 1 bar. So I immediately go for the EX dash straight to overhead reset. And watch what happens here. Counter hit. This is important information that sets up the rest of the sequence. This is telling me that he was trying to mash buttons to interrupt the high-low reset. You shouldn't do that on EX dash straight. That might be lack of matchup knowledge for Nephew. But it tells me that he's trying to interrupt my resets with buttons. And the other thing is, why did I go for a reset so early? Look at the difference in damage from if I start a combo with raw V trigger. That was 316, but if I do this from a crouching medium kick, 253, I lost 60 damage. Because this move hit him and I press V trigger, it adds an extra hit of scaling. Scaling is the magical thing that makes your combos do less and less damage the more hits you do. V trigger scales your combos harder. So because I needed such a comeback and I knew I had to win with that momentum sequence right then and there, I knew I had to get a reset. I knew I had 1 bar. I knew that EX high or EX low will beat buttons. So Nephew was forced to block correctly. So I landed that overhead. I saw it said counter. I knew for a fact that he was mashing. That tells me that Nephew is trying to interrupt my pressure. Lets me know where his mind is at. So now that I landed the overhead, I'm going to the basic combo. Remember what I taught you. First Rekka, I go for the reset here. I start the V skill. On the first Rekka, the overhead will trade with 3 frame. Did you see it? Nephew pressed the 3 frame. You see that blurry block of pixels right there? That's Nephew's jab. This was the same thing he did on the EX overhead, but this time it doesn't just beat the jab, it trades. The reason I went for that was because I had a big suspicion he was mashing, and I knew that if I got this trade combo here, it would do mad damage. So let me explain to you what happens, the mind game during that, or the mindset during that. Let's just look at the combo, what you would do normally if the opponent wasn't mashing, right? I just simply pressed medium punch after the overhead, and then I would have just kept doing this, maybe launched him up and done this extension. However, if it trades, you have to do something completely different. You get a juicy combo if it trades. However, you got to be ready for it. If it trades, that combo route doesn't work anymore, meaning I have to be prepared to either do the medium punch route or do the trade route if it trades. I have to split my attention and pay attention to what might happen and react appropriately during this overhead reset. What I like to do, which is simple, it makes it simple for me, is I just do medium rush punch instead of medium punch when I get the trade. Because I can react to the trade, then just do dash punch, but I'm pressing the same button no matter what. Either I do this or I do that. So it's very easy for me to split my attention between those 2 options. However, because I saw that Nephew was doing a lot of mashing on the EX dash straight, because remember, my eyes were picking up on my peripheral here, this little gold brown kind of text blob. I see this in my peripheral, and I know that tells me that he's in a mindset to press buttons. And I immediately know I have enough health to take a jab. I can afford the trade. So I know that if I go for this and he jabs, it's gonna be my best opportunity to win. So I go for it, he jabs, I do medium dash straight. Now I know, hey, right before the stun, rather than stunning him here, because remember chat, if you do a lot of hits in your combo and then stun, the next hits will do very little damage. I know that if I reset the combo and hit him one more time with this tiny amount of stun left, whatever it may be, that follow-up is going to do huge unscaled damage. So what I do here is the greediest option possible. It's the fakest option. It has the biggest gap. It has the most room for him to interrupt. I V-skilled, and then I threw him. Now, my mistake here was back throwing him. Back throw does more stun, but does less damage than forward throw. And you'll see where I kind of messed up. So there's even more ways to optimize this. But the point is the mind game. The high and the low hit faster than the throw. But I knew at this point that Nephew would finally stop mashing because he got blown up twice. This whole situation happened twice because he was mashing buttons to interrupt me. So at this point, I knew he would just try to block high or block low, look for the high-low reset, but instead I just stopped and threw him. Now you see that I got the back throw. You can look at my eyes. It's hard to see, but I'm already looking in the corner of the screen. My eyes are here in the corner. That's looking at my bar. I'm not even looking at the characters to see. Now my eyes shift back to the screen. I see how much meter I built. Now during this combo, my eyes are looking back at the bar. I glance back at the bar because my combo route here differs based on how much meter I have. So I saw that I just built enough bar, and then I go for the 2-bar route, which is EX low, V trigger extension, use the last bar of the V trigger remaining, V skill P, and then EX straight. And look at his life, just a pixel remaining. So this is where I was a little nervous. I mentioned earlier that the back throw might have been a mistake. This is why I was thinking that. The back throw was the right move to get the 2 bars, but forward throw would have done more damage. But there was no way for me to build enough meter to get the 2-bar combo, so doing the back throw was the correct choice. Now he's in the corner. He has 1 little tick left of health, and you notice I immediately jump. Now, Nephew does have EX parry available. However, I could have done an empty jump, a jump low, a jump throw, and baited any of the parries. So he chose to block. I knew to go for this because I wanted to set up the next interaction. Did you understand the mind game there? It seems so simple. It almost seems like he didn't block. Like you should say, Nephew, you're an Evo finalist. You know, you're in Capcom Cup. Don't you know to block low after blocking your jump in? That's where you'd be wrong. Do you know that that's a 50-50 right there? He knew that I knew that he knew, but he didn't know that I knew that he knew that I know. Balrog has this nifty thing called an instant overhead, and it can only be done from a block jump in specifically. So if I jump in, I can just go low right away, and you have to block low. You see Nikali blocking low for that. However, if I do jump back light kick, see how the dummy is blocking high? There is a tiny invisible window when you are, even when you are holding down back, your hurt box, the invisible thing that actually gets hits by people's moves, is still standing. Yeah, this is what you would call a fuzzy. So if you block this standing, then held down back, this jump back light kick would hit you high. It's a high-low. It's a high-low for a tiny bit of damage. So Nephew knew that I had this cheeky little instant overhead that I could go for. He knew that I had this. However, if you block an instant overhead, it's actually very punishable. Let me demonstrate that really quick, actually. Okay, this is a bad example, but you could really like dash forward and get big punishes. So it's not safe to do. If I went for the instant overhead, he attempted to block it. If he had blocked that, he would have killed me 100%. The safer option and also like the high level mix up is to go for the low. So that's what I did here. Once I set up the final interaction, I went low because I knew that he knew about the instant overhead. And yes, I did do this instant overhead earlier in the tournament. Nephew even told me after the fact. He told me that he saw me do the instant overhead to somebody else. So he thought I would go for it here. So even in this interaction, there's a mind game going on because of past experience. And he chose incorrectly and he ended up losing. I hope that kind of explains it to you what's going on, all the different techniques that kind of led up to this robbery. As a quick overview, let's take a look at it one more time, but maybe with a slightly different perspective. So here I go, I get thrown into the corner, and then I find the activation point, I see it hit, I go for the immediate reset to beat all mashing options, see him mashing jab, go for the overhead, I convert the trade, the greedy reset because I know I conditioned him to not press buttons anymore, build the perfect amount of meter to get the 2-bar combo, realize it's just not enough, go for the block jump in, set up the 50-50, use the pass information to go for the low and get the kill. So now you have all the pieces. Now you have all the evidence. That is the art of the robbery right there. So hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you enjoyed that. And if you still think Balrog's brain dead, fair enough. I can't change your mind. But what I can do is ask you to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this breakdown. We're getting really close to 60K subs, the next milestone for the channel. So I'd really appreciate all the support. And I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.